Hi, I'm Wayne Alaroot for Personal Liberty. Tuesday night was a great night for conservatives and patriots. A Tea Party conservative was elected governor of Kentucky, only the second Republican governor in that state in the past 44 years. Glory, hallelujah. A sheriff who helped turn San Francisco into a sanctuary city for illegal aliens, can you imagine, was defeated. Even in ultra-liberal San Francisco, glory, hallelujah. Republicans held on to the state Senate in Virginia, a huge loss for the Democratic governor who campaigned across the state with 24 events in 4 days, spent millions more than the GOP, mostly from out-of-state PACs, and called it a make-or-break moment for his progressive agenda. He only needed to flip one seat, and he never got one. Glory, hallelujah. And a radical leftist ballot measure supported by the Democratic mayor of Houston that would have allowed men dressed as women, including sexual predators, to use women's bathrooms was defeated even in Democratic-dominated Houston. Glory, hallelujah. It sure looks and sounds like Democrats have a big problem headed their way in 2016. All the brainwashing of the liberal media, the teachers' unions, the public school system, virtually every college professor in America, most government officials and government employees, and even open borders letting in millions of foreigners with far different values, all of that, and still it isn't enough to change the hearts, minds, and common sense of the silent majority. America remains a center-right nation. It looks like the only way to truly finish the job, to ruin America, destroy the middle class by making them dependent on government and kill capitalism, American exceptionalism, and Judeo-Christian values is the way communists have always done it. They can't get the job done without indoctrination camps where citizens are re-educated. In the end, that's the only way to sell socialism, Marxism, and communism because they're so putrid. But there's a fly in the ointment. That can't happen in a nation filled with 300 million guns in the hands of proud patriots. Hence the desperate efforts to disarm us. Obama and his socialist cabal have to find a way to take our guns away. Anyway, any opening. It may take 50 years of chipping away at our gun rights, but they have no other way to ruin America and all it stands for. So that's the plan. And after Obama, it'll be Hillary. But this isn't just an issue for Americans. Leftists want to disarm Americans even from across the Atlantic. Exhibit A is Piers Morgan and the ultra-liberal gun-hating host of Britain's #1 morning TV show. I was a guest on this show recently. The topic was guns in America, and I was there to defend gun rights and debate Piers Morgan. More on that in a minute. First, some good news for gun owners and champions of gun rights. Harvard is on our side. Yes, I said Harvard. Harvard University researchers just made the case for gun rights in America. Thank you, Harvard. Yes, I said thank you, Harvard. Those three words rarely come out of the mouth of a conservative, especially when the topic is gun rights. Unfortunately, the Harvard study came too late for my televised national TV debate against Piers Morgan on that #1 rated morning show in England, but that's okay, because I hammered home my winning debate points, and the Harvard study has now proved everything I said was 100% correct, on the money. The real question is, are liberals like Piers Morgan liars or just delusional? Do they understand they're spouting lies and misrepresentations? Do they realize their policies are getting good people killed in record numbers? Do they understand they're disarming law-abiding people and leaving them defenseless to be slaughtered by creeps, criminals, and psychotic mass murderers? Because if they understand all that, they're very bad people. If they don't, then they're just naive, ignorant, delusional dupes and dopes. I think the answer, at least in the case of Piers Morgan, is the latter. Dupe and dope. Piers isn't a bad guy. I've debated him twice now on national TV, and I happen to like him. He's just ignorant. But no matter their true motives, liberal gun haters and gun grabbers are dangerous to all of us, to our families, to our children. I opened the TV debate on British television by pointing out we shouldn't be debating gun rights at all, but rather the tragedy of gun-free zones. All the mass murders by gun that so enrage liberals, like the recent Oregon Community College shooting, they all happen in gun-free zones. As I pointed out on UK national TV, it's like putting a giant blinking neon sign above the door that screams, "Come on in and kill us all," because we're completely defenseless. Of course, Piers hated that line of common sense and declared it wrong-headed. He pointed out that many U.S. mass shootings have happened at military bases like the Washington, D.C. Navy Yard, Fort Hood Military Base, and Chattanooga, Tennessee Military Recruiting Center. So again, the question is, does Piers know that he's lying? Or is he just delusional and drinking liberal Kool-Aid? Because in all three incidents, the soldiers at these military bases or recruiting centers were in fact disarmed. U.S. military bases are, for all intents and purposes, gun-free zones nowadays. Our soldiers have been disarmed and turned into helpless sitting ducks by ignorant liberal government bureaucrats. But of course, the virulent, rapid, frothing at the mouth, gun-hating British celebrity hosts wouldn't let me respond and point out that falsehood. So I'm doing it here. Next, I pointed out that we should not be debating gun rights, but rather the war on Christians going on across the globe. After all, the Oregon Community College shooting was most definitely a hate crime against Christians. Once again, Piers went ballistic and he told a lie. He responded by saying that I was completely incorrect. The shooter never singled out Christians. He insisted, wrong again, Piers. Every single witness told the same story. They told it in the media. The mass murderer asked each victim, what's your religion? If the answer was, I'm a Christian, he shot them in the head, dead. If the answer was any other religion, he shot them in the leg, thereby saving their life. Headlines reported this on October 1st, yet Piers denied this during our nationally televised debate on October 5th. Then I made the two key points that should win any debate about gun rights. Game over. In response to Piers and the two gun-hating celebrity hosts blaming gun-crazy America for our terrible rate of violent gun crimes, I pointed out the facts. I pointed out that they were misleading their British audience by quoting violent gun crime rates. Of course, crimes by guns are higher in the United States, a country with legal guns, than UK, a country that bans guns, but the stat that matters is violent crime, period, using any weapon. The UK's violent crime rate is 4 times higher than America's, even though guns are banned. Here are the facts on the FBI versus the UK Home Office, their version of the FBI. In the USA, there are 386 violent crimes per 100,000 citizens. In the UK, there are 1,361 violent crimes per 100,000 citizens. Violent crime is rampant in a country like Britain that bans guns in the hands of law-abiding people. So why on earth are they lecturing us? Why are they so intent on banning guns in our country so our citizens can be as defenseless as theirs? Why indeed? No surprise that my damning facts were completely ignored and they never responded. Next, in response to being told the USA is like the Wild West and U.S. citizens are being murdered by guns left and right, I pointed out that almost all violent crime in America occurs in urban inner cities with the strictest gun control, run 100% by liberal Democratic politicians. I pointed out if you subtracted Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, St. Louis, Memphis, Cleveland, New Orleans, and Washington, D.C. from the gun death stats, America is among the safest countries in the world. In other words, if law-abiding citizens are armed, there isn't any crime. We're all safe. You can walk in the streets without fear in nice neighborhoods where homeowners are armed to the teeth. If guns are taken away from good people, then and only then do streets become war zones. That's when good people can't go out at night in democratic neighborhoods with strict gun control. That's when store owners are helpless. That's when your kids get shot playing in the street or in the park. Guns don't kill. Guns protect good people. Their response to these remarkable facts? Not a word. Crickets. They merely threw up their hands and said, so what would you do, Wayne Root? Arm teachers? And when I responded, yes, I would arm teachers, Piers and the gun-hating celebrity hosts literally shrieked live on the air. At that point, they tried to paint me as an extreme radical gun-crazy American. You want all teachers armed? Are you serious? Are you crazy? I responded with common sense. No, of course not. Not all teachers. Only the ones comfortable and willing to be armed and take extensive gun training and safety classes. And the result of this common sense response, one small sentence out of an entire debate, and it was in response to their question, was blaring headlines in British newspapers that ignored every other word and every other point I made, and the headline said, NRA man says arm teachers. I was also identified by the UK media not only as NRA man, but as a member of the pro-gun lobby. Both descriptions, complete fabrications. The media distorted who I was to try and scare the audience and make them hate me. What I am is an American private citizen who believes in my civil rights and in the Second Amendment and in my right to defend myself and my family. And I also believe if gun-free zones are so great, let's make Obama and the Congress live and work in gun-free zones. Let's make the White House and the Capitol building gun-free zones. Let's disarm all the Secret Service agents and Capitol Police. Let's disarm all the security guards at Obama's children's school, just as these liberals want your kids and mine to be left defenseless at their schools. Disarm all the bodyguards for all the liberal rock bands and the liberal Hollywood actors. If it's so good to be disarmed, why do these limousine liberal politicians and celebrities insist on armed bodyguards for themselves? Disarm Michael Moore's bodyguard. Now back to the Harvard study. It proved everything I said in my Piers Morgan debate. Their facts came from studying the United Nations International Study on Firearms Regulation. Go look it up. The Harvard researchers found where firearms ownership is the most dense, violent crime rates are the lowest. And where firearms ownership is the most restricted and least dense, violent crime rates are the highest. Exactly what I said. The researchers happen to point out that almost 4 times higher violent crime rate in the UK versus the USA. They pointed out England has 125% higher number of rape victims per 100,000 people and 133% higher number of assault victims. A study by the United States National Academy of Scientists reviewed hundreds of books, articles, and studies and concluded there's no example anywhere showing that strict gun control regulations have ever reduced violent crime. Other extensive research has proven that guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens prevent or stop violent crimes from occurring anywhere from hundreds of thousands of times a year to as many as 2.5 million times per year in the United States. It's also a fact that the 9 states with the lowest violent crime rates are all right-to-carry states. One last point in defense of guns. I was born a Jew. My relatives were slaughtered by Hitler and the Nazis. Jews were left defenseless when Hitler passed a law that banned gun ownership for Jews. That was the first step that led to the enslavement, torture, and extermination of 6 million of my people. The Nazi genocide was no exception. Throughout history, evil tyrants have always disarmed the citizens first, then enslaved and murdered them. So I conclude this story by warning Obama, Hillary, and all the hordes of liberal, gun-hating, gun-grabbing socialist zombies, you can take my guns when you pry them from my cold, dead hands. Good luck. I'm Wayne Alaroot for Personal Liberty. See you next week. God bless America.